Welcome to day 2 of Creating Cultural Legacy. I am so glad to see you here tonight for day 2 of an opportunity to learn how to own, invest, and leave a legacy for generations to come, right? Leave an inheritance for your children's children. So yesterday we talked all about what is creating cultural legacy. Let me get my sound down so I don't hear myself talking. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, had to get my sound down because I could hear myself and it was an echo. But yesterday, as a short recap, we learned about what is creating a cultural legacy. We know that we have a Father who created us and he allowed us to co-create. So that's what creation is, and we get to co-create. So we get the opportunity to create as well. Culture. Each and every one of us has a culture. We need to know where we came from. I talked to you about my history through DNA ancestry, but it's important to know where you came from so that you also know where you're going. There's a saying about the history. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. I don't know about you, but there's parts of my history that I don't want to repeat. And then we also learned about legacy. What is a legacy? What will you be remembered for? We all have a limited time here on this earth, but what will you be remembered for? What will you leave behind? Personally, I do not want to leave debt behind for my children or my children's children. I want to leave them an inheritance that they can look at and remember me fondly. Not just because I want to be remembered fondly, it's because I want to create generational wealth for generations to come. So today we are transitioning to owning real estate. But before we do, I want to bring my friend Nadia on because we have some prizes. I did mention to you that if you were to go live and share, or if you were to share this Facebook group to other people and they come in, I would have some prizes for you. So I'm going to welcome Nadia to the stage so that she can share with you who those lucky winners are.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to day 2 of Create Cultural Legacy. So I would like to introduce you guys. kathycross is sharing her heart, knowledge, and expertise and skills that have cost her greatly. She is a 6-figure income entrepreneur as a realtor for over 28 years in Washington State. Wow, Katie, this is make you awesome realtor with all of this knowledge that you want to share with people. And currently, she designated broker of Imagine Real Estate since 2012. A recent graduate of the Crush It You Premier Online Marketing Program, and on track to become an online marketing consultant and 6-figure kingdom entrepreneur. Welcome back to the stage, kathycross. And guys, I would like to tell you that today we are going to share who is a winner from yesterday. We saw that people join, we saw that people going live, and first prize that would like to give, I would like to tell right name, to give $25 gift Amazon certificate to Sandra Ray Chalfan. She is getting this $25, and congratulations, Sandra. And also for the share, do you remember yesterday Katie told you to share the link, Facebook link, with others and invite friends. So Yolanda shared the link, and so she's getting the prize as well. Yes, Katie, she's getting the prize. $25 Amazon gift card. So your stage, and today you're going to share how to invest in real estate. So lean close to your computer and listen what she's going to share with you. Welcome back, Katie.
Thank you, Nadia, and congratulations to the winners for not only sharing, but going live. It's so important to go live because it helps propel this group forward and lets the other members know that there's something great here because you are doing something, you are making it happen. Now we'll transition to the next day, which I'm talking about investing. What is investing in real estate? So when you're creating a cultural legacy, you started yesterday with owning something, right? Each and every one of you probably already own a piece of real estate. And that first piece of real estate is your first investment. I love the share that I heard today from Sandra about what the Lord told her about the property that she purchased, that is not her quote forever home, or it's not the home that is going to be her permanent home. She is going to get another home. And so the home she's in right now is her investment home. It's a home she's residing in. So I want to bring you to my slides and share a little bit about my journey, and then I'll come back and talk to you about some different ways that you can invest, because I know that investing for some may be a bit of a scary proposition. So I'm going to take some of the fear out of that and share a little bit of my story on how this happened. So from yesterday, let's see if I can get this to act right. I hope you're not seeing these little things pop up on my screen. Hopefully you're not. I keep getting these pop-ups. Leaving an inheritance for your children's children, creating cultural legacy. So I indicated who everybody was on this picture. And I believe I mentioned to you that this house that is in the background in the center picture is one of my investment properties. It happens to be the property that my parents used to live in. My mother lives with me now, and my brother, who is on the right, actually lives in that house. Even though it's an investment and I inherited it, I'm not charging my brother rent. He actually is my property manager for the other properties. So these are some things that you might be able to do if you have property that you've received as an inheritance. So I thought that might be informational for you. So this was my parents' very first house, and it became my second, well, let's back this up. When I purchased my first property, which is here in Olympia, Washington, I was recently out of the military and got into real estate. And once I got into real estate, I decided that I needed to have a retirement. Whether you know or not, realtors, real estate brokers don't have a retirement. We don't have a 401k unless we create it, right? So at that time, I decided, okay, I want to model some of the things I saw my father do. He purchased a property and then he purchased more properties. And so my parents' first home became one of my investment properties. I told the story yesterday about how he decided before he passed that he wanted to transfer all of his rentals into my name. And so that's how I received an inheritance of those properties. But before then, I actually started purchasing real estate as I think it was my second year in business. The first 2 years were very difficult because I was used to not being an entrepreneur. I was used to basically W-2. I was in the military. I took orders, I received my check and went on with life. But once I got out, I understood, okay, if I don't work, I don't eat. If I don't get a sale, I don't have income. And so I decided that I needed to purchase more property. And you might ask, how did I do that? Well, there's traditional ways of purchasing property, and then there's untraditional ways. I decided, since I was already in the business and I had started working with foreclosures, that I would seek out a distressed property. I found a property that was it was a bank asset, and it was very cheap at that time. That was in the early 90s, mid 90s, 1995, I believe. I found this distressed asset for $45,000. And at that time, that was probably, it was less than the average sales price. but it was a really good price. And how I purchased that was with cash. And I will kind of go over that a little bit once we get a little further, but just wanted to tell you there's different ways to purchase your investment property. The first one is when you buy your first property, right? When you buy your first home. And there's another way you can actually inherit it. That was a way that I was able to increase my portfolio. And then I mentioned to you that my brother manages those properties that are in Wisconsin. That's where this home is, in Wisconsin. This home is actually 1 block away from what's known as MLK Boulevard. In most cities, there's a Martin Luther King Boulevard. Well, in that community, they are modeling that whole area. They're basically like redistricting it. So it is premium property. I get calls and texts all the time asking me if I want to sell it. So I've decided, because of my father passing this property on to me, that I would never sell it and that it would remain in the family. So investing in real estate, you create a revenue stream. A revenue stream because you are collecting money from tenants. So the tenants are maintaining your asset, your investment, and you get to have passive income. Passive income because you're not really working for it. The money's working for you, that passive income. Now, fortunately for me, when I purchased these properties, I didn't have a mortgage. So if you have a mortgage, you want to offset the mortgage with your rental income. So for example, if you're renting, I happen to be renting this place for $1,000, which is pretty good for that area. I'm renting that one for $1,000 and I have no mortgage, but I have water, I have taxes, so I still have expenses on that. So I still have cash flow and I pay my brother for managing it for me. So you want to make sure that you have some income on top of it. What I would recommend you not do, or what I would suggest you not do, is to get a high mortgage and then rent it out and not be able to meet your expenses. Because if you rent it for the same amount that you have your obligations or your underlying mortgage, then you're not going to have any additional income, because on top of that, you will still have other expenses. You may have something that breaks down. So this was my kind of humble beginnings of having an additional investment property in another state. So I'm here in Washington State and I own property in 2 states. So if you're from another state, you might consider, wherever you live at, if real estate is reasonable in that area and you have family members, you might want to think outside the box. How can I increase my portfolio by investing in real estate that's affordable? Because everywhere is not affordable. In most areas, real estate is on the rise in terms of value. But in Wisconsin, where I used to live, real estate is still reasonable. You could still find a nice single family home for 100,000 or less. Maybe 50,000, you can find something that needs work, but you can find a decent home for 100,000 on average. So think about where you live now. Can you invest there? Or if it's too expensive, maybe look at other areas that you might want to invest in, other localities. As I said, you don't want to work for the money. When I started in real estate, I worked because if I didn't receive a commission check, I wouldn't have any income. There was no W-2. So I thought, I need to start investing in real estate. I need to purchase some property so that I can build that revenue stream. I love what Robert Kiyosaki says, don't work for money, make it work for you. You make money work for you when you invest in real estate and you have that passive income. And over here, what about those toilets? So I know a lot of people do not want to invest in real estate because they're thinking, okay, it's all about toilets. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it by saying it's all flowery, but sometimes you get into properties and you have to invest to keep the properties, to maintain them. And this is a typical problem with rentals where toilets get stopped up. What I have done in some of my agreements, depending on where those leases are, whether they're in Washington State or Wisconsin, there's a toilet provision. You can put a toilet provision in the lease. In other words, if they're using the toilet and they stop it up, they unplug it. I have sent my brother over to unplug toilets. I have sent my husband over to unplug toilets. I have sent plumbers out to unplug toilets. And I've decided that we are not in the toilet industry. We are not in the toilet business. And if the tenant is using the toilet, it's their responsibility to take care of it. So that's just a little side note on managing rental properties. Now, yesterday we talked about owning. Today we're talking about investing. Tomorrow we're going to talk about how we can leave it for the next generation. And with real estate, Andrew Carnegie says 90% of all millionaires become so through owning real estate. In fact, Pedro Adao is doing an 818 Kingdom Finance Challenge, and he is focusing on real estate tomorrow. In fact, he talked some about real estate today, but really lean in. If you have not heard about that Kingdom Finance Challenge, there's a link in my group. Many of you are already participants in that, but just know that real estate is one of the #1 wealth building opportunities. And you don't have to come from millions to be a millionaire in real estate. It starts with one property at a time. At one time, I had amassed a portfolio of 15 or 16 properties. I had 2 fourplexes, 2 duplexes, and my father's property. I had those 4 properties, 3 of which are duplexes, 1 single family home. So I had all these properties, but I'll tell you, I crashed. I crashed because I propelled myself a little bit too far forward. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see if there's any questions. Okay, stop sharing. Okay, I moved a little bit too fast. What is it? It was, I don't know if many of you remember that time frame, but there was a time where you could purchase property and pull up the Facebook. I have my slide up and it's blocking my view. Okay, I'll just close that. See if I can close it, and then I can see you. Okay, now I can see. Okay, see if there's any questions. Yes, money working for you. So I was saying I amassed all these properties because I had a mentor, and it's important to have a mentor, but it's important to have the right mentor. I had a mentor who was this older gentleman who would always ask me, because we went to network meetings, he would always ask me, have you bought any real estate lately? And I would almost try to compete with him. I don't know why I thought I could compete with him, but he would show me what he bought. He would buy something for $58,000 here, $100,000 there. He'd have multifamily properties. He'd have single family properties. And here I am at the time, single with 1 child, trying to compete with a married man who had over 50 properties. I don't know what I was thinking, but I saw him as someone I could aspire to learn from. So I attempted to amass these properties. Now, he had a portfolio of capital to back up his purchases. I didn't. So what I did is I found unconventional ways to purchase real estate. And that's how I amassed these properties with no money down. I don't think that's possible anymore, because what happened with a lot of these no money downs is there was a crash. As some of you may know, some of you may have been a part of that, but there was a crash. And with that crash, I came crashing down, and I lost one of the fourplexes to foreclosure. I lost one of the fourplexes to a short sale. I lost one of the duplexes to a short sale, and I ended up selling the other. And I kept some of the single families and sold some of the others because I just couldn't keep up. And part of the reason I couldn't keep up is because there were vacancies. I didn't account for the vacancy factor. Now, when you become an investor, you need to calculate the risk. There is a risk in purchasing any asset. And in this case, I found myself in a position where I wasn't able to cover all of those vacancy periods on all of these different properties. So it was either I let those properties go, or I sabotage my own household. At the time I was, I got married again. I'm married now, been married for 26 years, but my husband and I, we almost grieved as though we lost a child, because we did not take a calculated risk. I see the word calculated risk. We didn't take a calculated risk. We were just risk takers. Just, hey, jump in a pool. I don't know how to swim. Jump in a pool. I don't need a life preserver. Well, I needed a life preserver and I didn't have one. So I'm saying this because I've learned the hard way, and I don't want you to learn the hard way. There is mentorship that is wisdom, and then there's mentorship that is foolishness. And I believe I was teetering on foolishness. In fact, I think I tottered on foolishness. So I don't want you to get caught up in the notion that this is something that is easy. It is not easy, but it's worth it. It's an investment, just like you would invest in any other assets. Maybe you have paper assets that you invest in. There's a calculated risk that you take with those. Don't spend more than you can afford to lose. So if you're purchasing an investment property, let's say it's the property that you already own, then you know what your mortgage payment is, you know what you can afford, you know if there's 1 month vacancy, you know whether you can cover that or not. So all of that needs to be taken into consideration before plunging ahead. This is an exciting opportunity to create wealth and amass millions. It's also an opportunity to lose it all. I didn't lose it all, but I lost a lot. I think I lost a lot of pride. I think I lost a lot of, I was reaching out. I don't know. I was starting to reach out toward the end, where I was doing loan modifications. I don't know if you've heard of those, but loan modifications where you're pleading, please, you're pleading with the bank. Just give me one more chance. I'm working on this. I only have this much money. I'm working on getting tenants. I'm taking care of the property. I was pleading. I even went to friends saying, hey, if you could just loan me this so that I can get out of this, or loan me this so I could keep this. And I believe the Lord was showing me a lesson in that process. I felt like I was being pruned. All this dead weight that was on me, which was a mortgage burden that I was carrying with me to bed at night. I was waking up. It was consuming me. It was all consuming. And the Lord was letting me know, I can look back and say that he was letting me know my eyes were not on him. I didn't ask him for any of it. I wanted it for me. I. Instead of looking at what am I creating and who am I creating it for? There's a story in the Bible about the rich ruler who had amassed all of this, and he had this barn, right? And he stored everything up in there, and he said, shoot, I'm gonna tear that barn down and build another barn. So he built another barn. That barn was huge, and he put all this stuff in there, and he's just sitting back. I can imagine sitting back fat and happy, like, hey, I've amassed millions, and I'm just gonna lay down and live on my what I've acquired. And the Lord called his soul that very night. So think about that. What are you amassing this for? Motives matter. I thought my motives were in the right place. I thought my heart was in the right place. But when I look back, and it's not until you look back at your mistakes, at your flaws, that you can see, oh, what was the lesson in that for me? Well, the lesson in that for me was that I needed to consult the king before taking dominion. And I wanted to take dominion without consulting the king. That was me. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not perfect. So I've learned to consult. I've learned the hard way to consult. Even now, even in my business now, I have a practice, I have an office. I help people buy and sell real estate. I also invest myself. I've done fix and flips. I've created I've created ventures. I've created other LLCs. So I still invest in real estate, but now I've learned to consult because my my desire to increase sometimes surpasses my desire to ask. He says, you have not because you ask not. I need to ask. I don't know if I'm resonating with anybody, but that whole notion of asking. So real estate in terms of investing, that's a couple of stories. I want to share with you some ways. If you're looking at ways that you can invest in real estate, how can you invest in real estate? Well, you heard the first one. The first one is if you own a property, you have a primary residence. That's a great start. If you don't have a primary residence and you want to get started, you might consider purchasing a multifamily property, such as a duplex. Then you have income on one side, you're living on the other side. That's like a golden way to start your investment and ownership. It's like investment ownership hand in hand. That if I had it to do all over again, that would have been my first purchase. In fact, I'm a veteran and I purchased using a VA loan, and I could have purchased a fourplex. One of the fourplexes that I lost, I could have purchased that coming out of the military. Didn't even think about that. So you can use your VA to purchase up to 4 units. So that is a way. In fact, I was working with a client that did that. There is a way that you can purchase your first property that's also your investment property. And it could even be a second property if you're using VA. Now, if you're using any other kind of financing, you could probably do the same thing. I'm not positive, so don't quote me on that. So using conventional methods such as VA, FHA, and conventional, those are the conventional tools that you can use to purchase your investment and your primary residence. Now, if you're thinking about some unconventional ways, let's say you might have a ding on your credit or something like that, you can purchase what's called a lease option. So a lease option or a lease purchase is where you're purchasing the property and you're leasing the property. You will put down typically a down payment. You can negotiate that. You can put down a down payment, and then during the period of time you make those payments, you can allocate a portion of those payments toward the principal. So I'll just use round numbers. So let's say it's $1,000 and you want to allocate $100 a month toward the principal. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, but in the end, you're giving yourself time so that you can purchase with either your cash or you could purchase with a loan to pay off the balance. And typically the balance is called a balloon payment. So you would pay that off at the end. So that's one way. I mentioned to you that I purchased some property in cash. What I did is I actually went, in some cases, in one of the cases, I went to the courthouse. In most cities, they have foreclosure sheriff sales at the courthouse. So at the courthouse, well, in my particular county, they do it, they say on the courthouse steps. So there is a person that comes out, sheriff's office, and they read from the ledger of all the properties that are in foreclosure. You can do your due diligence in that by going to the public records and finding out if there's multiple liens on the property. I have discovered that when you go to a sheriff's sale or an auction sale, if there's one price, that may not be the final price, because that person may have had a second mortgage on that. And you could, if you don't know what you're doing, you could get caught up in purchasing something and finding out there's still encumbrances or liens on that property. But let's say you find a property that you want to purchase and you want to pay cash for it. Now, there are hard money lenders, or there's people that you know that have money that you can borrow from and pay them back in interest. I had a business partner that I purchased property with, and that's exactly what he did. We both had a friend who was a physician who just had extra cash and wanted to get in the game. He wanted to buy real estate. So he wanted us to use his money, and then he would turn around and receive a portion of the proceeds as well as his investment back. So he would get his investment back and then we would split. He would get the higher share, but there's so many different ways to purchase investment property. One way, which I don't necessarily suggest, but it's a possible way, a way that I did early on, is I had a huge line of credit and I used the line of credit to purchase property because I used that line of credit. And I say line of credit, you can get a line of credit on your home, or you can get a line of credit through the bank, or you can use, and I don't recommend this, but I have, I've used credit cards in the past. I've used credit cards to purchase property because then I turned around and I paid those cards back off. I told you I was zealous. So when you're zealous, you learn to be creative. And being creative is really what we're talking about, creating cultural legacy. So you can be as creative as your risk tolerance will allow you to when it comes to investing in real estate. I will say hard money lenders are named that for a reason. They don't typically, in my experience, they don't typically give you the best deal. They don't give you the best rate, and they want their money back pretty quickly. So if you get a hard money loan, you need to take the calculated risk of what happens if. So that little question, you might want to write that down when it comes to investing in real estate, because I have formulas I could share with you. I have locations where you can find these properties, but in the end, are you able to take the calculated risk what if this doesn't happen? And I'm not playing devil's advocate. I'm just saying prepare, not necessarily prepare for the worst, but plan for that vacancy factor. And that was one of my pitfalls. I didn't plan. It was as though the money was coming and everything was great when the money was coming. When it stopped, it wasn't so great. So plan for the vacancy factor. Now, I do want to share a couple of places that you can also find properties online, and I'll probably post it in the group. One is, I believe it's called PropStream. PropStream. It's a online site where you can find properties that are distressed properties. You can find properties that have people that have passed away. You can find properties with people that are divorcing. What is it? Death, divorce. You can find those, and you can find the ones on the market. You can find the ones that are for sale by owner. So I'll post that in the group just as a freebie. That's just kind of one of my little freebies to you, that you can locate properties online yourself. Now, I will say, if you find these properties, locating the title company, you want to do a title search, because with the title search, that will let you know if there's any other liens on that property. What you don't want to do is get excited about that price and think that's it. There may be foreclosure fees, other fees that aren't necessarily included on that price or not visible on that price. Does that make sense? So I just want to take a quick look and see if I have any questions. Any questions? Do you see any, Nadia? I can't. I keep getting this pop up. Okay, I don't
Not
see
for
any.
now.
So, not for now. Okay. Okay. I'm going to give you guys a treat tonight. I'm going to let you go early. I have so many stories that I could share, and I don't want to make this all about the story. I want to make this all about educating you on that you can invest in real estate. I didn't think I could when I first purchased my first home. wasn't thinking about investing, but because of the line of work I'm in, I don't have a 401k per se. I don't have, that retirement unless I create it myself. And so I looked at real estate because of where I came from, because of my parents and my parents' parents. They all own real estate. I come from a legacy of home ownership. I don't really understand the mentality of renting. So I've learned to be more compassionate to people that have never owned real estate because I meet them every day. I've learned to get an understanding of, well, what's their perspective? Why do they not see the value in owning real estate? It's definitely opened my eyes by being in this industry. But I want to share with you that it's valuable to own real estate. It gives you not just a sense of ownership, but it gives you a sense of being able to have something tangible that you could pass on to the next generation, because the next generation needs what we have to share, not just the tangible assets, but they need to know our stories. They need to know, why did this happen? Why did you decide to do this? Where did I come from? They need to understand that. I say that in terms of the next generation. It's important for them to know. And we have an obligation, I believe, personal responsibility to steward what we've been given. Even though we use the word ownership, we're really stewards. We're stewarding what's been given to us or what we've purchased, right? We're stewarding it. And when we use property management services, that's what we do. We either transfer someone else to manage our assets or our rental properties, our investments, or we do it ourselves. I manage some of my own properties here locally. And I didn't hire a property manager here because I do property management services for others. So I decided I could do it for myself too. But you can choose to hire a property manager or you can do it yourself. But again, you're stewarding that asset and you need to be able to look and see, does this make sense on paper? And does this make sense, from a heart posture? Your motive. What's your motive with acquiring? Remember the man who created all that wealth in the barn and his soul was required of him. And so I think it's, for me and hopefully for you, it's important not just to have it, but to be able to leave it for the next generation. The Bible says a good man or woman leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So what inheritance are you going to leave? I want to leave real estate. I will leave real estate. I've already started that process. I've already created that plan, that blueprint. But it's not just about real estate. I have stories, I have videos, I have pictures. I have all of that to share with the next generation. So you get the opportunity to do the same for your generation, for your family, for your household, for your grandchildren. Your grandchildren need to know about you. They need to know what you went through to get to where you are today. And I believe that this current generation forgets about that, forgets about what our ancestors went through. It's not until we look back and see how hard they worked to create what we have today that makes me want to work harder to create even more. Typically, we want more for the next generation than we had for ourselves. I used to always say, I'm never going to be like my blah, 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 mother or father. I'm never going to blah, 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 until I became an adult and I realized a sense of responsibility. And I understood, when you know better, you do better. So I understood, okay, I really need to fix my mouth and take note of what my parents went through to get me to where I am. I didn't understand when they were unscrewing light bulbs. I didn't understand that. That didn't make sense to me. Didn't make sense. Now I understand. Now I wonder, why don't I do that? Why don't I steward my things better? I'm learning. I'm getting there. Not perfect. So what inheritance would you leave? Okay. All right. I am going to, like I said, I was going to give you a bonus and let you leave early, but now I'm starting to get stirred up. I want to see if there's any questions before I transition us early for tonight. And remember, I want to share with you that if you're getting value out of what you're hearing, share this group. It's a private Facebook group, so you can't share the contents of what's here, but you can share the link, and then I could allow them access into the group. And for that, I'm willing to share with you some prizes. I have more than a gift card, so I'll give something else different tomorrow. In fact, I have, I'll probably save that. Yeah, I'll save that for tomorrow. I have a big prize for tomorrow. So I'd love to see some more shares. Go live, share what you're getting out of this challenge, and maybe share what you would like to get. If there's something more that you'd like to hear about when it comes to investing in real estate, it's really a rich topic. It's a big topic where I could go deep and go into, spreadsheets and pull up some things, but I wanted to speak to the mindset of investing and the motives of investing. Like, why are you doing it? Is it just, like I said, to amass, or is it to pass on and leave for the next generation? And that's the vision that I want you to catch, is that what you're doing is not just for you, but it's for those that you leave behind. All right, Miss Nadia, you want to give me some information on what's going to happen tomorrow if they share?
Yes. Thank you, Katie, for this lovely information, because here is, I see we had Tracy was participating in all of conversation, and she said, this is so good, so interesting, and all of this, definitely you had some learning experience from you. So just you for sharing all of your experience, that livelihood that you went through, and how you learn from people and from your dad as well. So it is very valuable information that people have to hear this. So this is why that we are asking to share the link with your friends of friends. Look like we are leaving legacy not only for children, but children's children's children. So instead of to say grandchildren and grand, we're saying children's children. So this is very informative learning information. So I learn a lot. So yes, I do have the property as well, but it is not so long ago that we purchased it, and we are planning to leave, and we are already leaving to our son. We have only one son, so even though that he already had several properties, but by himself, I wasn't grow in this way that I can buy property here and there. So kind of, it is different generation, different mentality, and different country that I was born and grow there. So here in Canada as well, you are in the US. We know that investing is a huge step to do, and just by stepping up and raising up, this one is all about to do in this life and leave the legacy, as you said, to next generation to come. And thank you for all of this information. And guys, don't forget to share, and prices are coming. I know that Katie has something in her bag that she would like to pull tomorrow and tell you what is a big prize that she would like to share with you. I know for sure what is that, but I'm not going to let her to say but by herself. But thank you so much for this great session, and I just wish everyone to join and to learn, just to learn. You don't have to do anything, just get this information, because after workshop that I attended last month, it is mind-blowing what Kathy has to share with you guys. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Nadia. So I will see you all tomorrow at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where I will unpack leaving a legacy for your children's children. So now that you've owned it, you've invested, now the next step is to leave that legacy. Remember that inheritance for your children's children. So share, 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 and go live. Go live in the Facebook group. I love the live that I saw. Go live. I love to see your face. Suzetta Dale says there's favor on your face. So show your face. We'd love to see your face. Thank you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.